Hello, Edwina Murphy-Droomer is my name, and I want to warmly welcome you to this interview in the series that is all about unleashing the audacious woman within. Today's guest, Hedy Schleifer, is the very definition of audacious. She is an internationally recognized master relationship builder, an incredible motivational speaker. Her beloved life's work has been guiding people to experience the most alive and joyful connections possible with each other. Hedy speaks 7 languages and has been teaching this work for over 40 years in 39 different countries. And today we get to celebrate an extra special event with Hedy. Hedy, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us today on your birthday. I think it's our gift.
Oh, I love birthdays. You know, another year of life experience and then another year of life experience.
Yeah.
And so,
and the next year, the next adventure to come. So how many years of adventure have you had till now?
76.
Yeah.
And going strong.
And such a deep pool of wisdom that we get to dive into today. So, Hedy, for those of the women in our audience that actually have not had the pleasure of meeting you yet, could you tell us a little bit about your story, or a lot about your story, and how you came to be doing the work that you do?
You know, I'm a child of war. I was born in a refugee camp in Switzerland in 1944. And I think the fact that I was born when Europe was beginning to be liberated, and my parents felt like I brought so much hope and so much optimism to them. Here's this healthy little girl in the middle of all that they went through, not even thinking they would survive it. I think that atmosphere was in my fiber. And from the very beginning of life, I think I said, welcome to the whole adventure, or like Zorba the Greek says, to the whole catastrophe. You know, whatever comes, welcome. And so over the years, I realized, me and my husband, we're now married 55 years, we realized that we seem to be the Olympic champions of unconsciousness. We didn't even know that something like consciousness existed. We were sure you fall in love, you get married, and it's marvelous.
Yeah.
Well, there are challenges there, and the two of us began to understand that we needed to welcome consciousness, relational consciousness. And so we did, and went to study and went to workshops, and slowly but surely we developed a wonderful model that we call encounter-centered transformation. How does a couple get transformed? Through the encounter of the souls. And so we taught it together for 25 years. And Yumi, my husband, has retired, and I told you that I'm continuing. I'm going to continue from 75 to 85. That's my big plan.
Yeah.
And then at 85, I'm starting a business, Fashion After 80.
I love it. I love it. And some of the most beautifully dressed women I look at, women like Judi Dench, you know, and just that, the style is just beautiful. So I'll be waiting for that chapter.
That's right. That's right. I've put it on the horizon, and I told my grandson Leo, and he said, Bobby, that's grandma in Yiddish, you need to be a model for your company.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that he already stepped into it, you know?
Yeah, you're already there. He's, I said before we pressed record that your outfit when you did your TED talk actually grabbed my attention. I love clothes.
Yes.
Love clothes. So you've got this wonderful big vision still, you know, starting at 85, and you talk about putting your big vision on the horizon. What do you mean by that?
You know, when I start working with a couple, the first foundational step I take with them is the step of their wildest dream and deepest aspiration for their relationship. And we put on the horizon 3 wishes from both people, but we explore it in depth so that by the time 6 wishes are there, they are like the vows that they spoke when they were young, when they just started their relationship. These are beautiful, challenging, and embracing views of what life is possible as a couple and as a family.
Yeah.
And we put it on the horizon. And what I found is that what you put on the horizon there, slowly the energy really invites you in that direction, and providence allows you to get a lot of gifts that push you in that direction. So the most important thing is really to put an enormous vision out there.
Yeah.
And then your life somehow walks in that direction. And I like to say that life is not a problem to be solved. It's an adventure to be lived. And whatever life gives you, even though it may at first look like this is a terrible problem to solve, no, it's an adventure to live. Step into it, name it, go with it.
Yes, 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 yes. I want that. I want that written on big letters on my wall. I love it. And vision, is my favorite subject. And I love to do this in all the different areas of my life. So I love that you talk about it. It's, and you have this, do you find that you've done this in all areas of your life? You've done so many different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every area of my life gets a vision, a big vision on the horizon, so that I'm walking in that direction. Like I told you already, at 85, I'm having a business called Fashion After 80. There's already a vision there. Till that time, I give everything I have for my beloved work with relationships. Then we play with fashion.
Yeah.
So that's a vision.
Yeah.
It's on the horizon.
Yeah. So did vision play a part in your recovery from breast cancer? Because that's an interesting story too.
Yes, indeed. When I got diagnosed, I was 54, and it just seemed to come out of left field. Here's a diagnosis in breast cancer, stage 4, quite serious. Well, my husband and I were terrified. And it was he who said to me, Hedy, how long shall we be terrified? 2 hours? 3 hours? He said, after that, it's not a problem to be solved anymore. It's an adventure to be lived. And it shocked me. He's right. How long shall we be terrified?
Yeah.
And then he said, let's name the adventure. We'll give it a name. And he called it Rallying Around the Boob. And everybody that rallied, he called them the Boob Brigade. So we had an international Boob Brigade. And when we went to a doctor, we would say, are you willing to be part of the Boob Brigade? And if that doctor didn't find that funny, that was not our doctor. We needed a Boob Brigade that really was mobilized to make it an adventure to be lived. And on the horizon was radiant health, joy of life, and slowly but surely, here I am, 23 years later, in radiant health and joy of life. But that's what we put on the horizon, and then we went on the march of the Boob Brigade.
I love it. I love it. That's such a special story. And you talked about, I think you've named this chapter of your life as well. So is this something that just evolves, or is it a deliberate action? How do you come up with this?
Naming the adventure is a deliberate action. You really want to understand, what am I doing right now? And in this case, the example I gave of that diagnosis, what I'm doing right now is I'm gathering a brigade that is going to rally around the boob and go for that vision. And so, even when I went to get a dose of chemotherapy, there was a big sign that said, welcome cancer survivor. And I said to the lady sitting at the counter, there's a mistake in your sign. She looked up, she says, I can't see one. Is it a spelling mistake, a grammatical mistake? I said, no, it's a conceptual mistake. What could it be? She says, well, you know, I said, I had a diagnosis of breast cancer. But right now, I don't have breast cancer. I'm not a breast cancer survivor. I am thriving. And she looked at me and she says, well, what shall I call you then? And I said, you know, Hedy Schleifer will do.
I was just going to
She
say.
realized, wait a minute, because I said to her, have you had the flu? She said, I did. Are you a flu survivor? Why should I always go back to something that I dealt with, but go with it into my future, and you don't have to constantly be reminded you had the flu? That's really, I wasn't willing, because of the vision I had there of thriving and being whole, didn't have to go back to that cancer survivorship. And I think that that's a philosophy that's really important. She did go to the hospital administration to tell the story because she felt like the sign was everywhere.
Yeah.
People needed to be liberated from that.
What we focus on expands. I think
exactly.
Yeah, I think I'm in the adventure of unleashing the audacious woman. It's fun.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So your adventure right now, I think, is it rallying around the essence.
So my husband had a few very bad falls. My husband now has 89 years of life experience. And he had a few very bad falls and something occurred and his memory is different. He's not the same man that he was before. And people call who I am, and I'll put it in quotes, a caregiver. I am not a caregiver. We are care partners.
Yeah.
Care partners who are rallying around our essence, because my husband is in the sweetest, most serene, most peaceful time of his life, because the part of the brain that has all the very bad memories of war, because he's a survivor of the Holocaust, you know, those bad memories, and is not there. And he's just happy and serene and delighted with life. And so I decided we are care partners, rallying around our essence. And so we have expressed enormous love to each other. And you're not going to believe what happened. His libido woke up, and he is now a man who makes love to me every single day. Oh, and my libido has had to join his libido, so I can really be part of this rallying around the essence. Yeah. You know, he doesn't carry a conversation so much anymore, but in lovemaking, the bodies talk to each other in such a splendid way, and it has come out of calling it care partners rallying around the essence. It would never have happened if I were a caregiver and I would give him a diagnosis.
Yeah. I'm just thinking how lucky the people in your life are. I feel for many of us, we need that vision of a beautiful relationship, but we don't have a lot of people to turn to and to look at what that actually looks like. And I think about relationships that we perhaps see on TV and how they give a false picture. But when I think about the beautiful people in my life, and I certainly I have a beautiful marriage now. I did have a marriage that broke down, but I see so much strife in the relationships in, my girlfriends' lives. And I think that we need people like you that we can look to for creating that vision. So right. I'm so grateful for the work that you do.
Thank you.
So living life to the fullest, I've got so many notes here of things that I'm just dying to ask you. Let's look at, I know that there was a documentary made for yourself and Yumi. Am I saying his name? Yeah, Yumi. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that came to happen?
You know, we used to do couples workshops, and in one of our couples workshops, a couple from Canada decided we're going back to learn a little more. And when they came back, they decided we are making a documentary about this couple and about their workshop. And they then really donated a very beautiful sum of money to be able to make this movie in 4 countries:
Yeah.
United States, Canada, Israel, and Austria. And it followed us, and it showed the workshop couples learning how to do 3 things that we teach. One, to honor the relational space between, because we pollute that space by the things we say, by the looks on our faces, by the way our bodies are. We learn how to sanctify that space, how to cross the bridge to the world of the other. You know, how a good marriage is bilingual. How do I cross the bridge to learn your language? You learn your culture, learn your rhythm. We are so different from each other. And most of the time, the people who fall in love with each other are incompatible. Yeah. Because the grandmother of a friend said, if we are the same, one of us is superfluous. We are incompatible. We are so different from each other, and we need to learn. And so we cross the bridge to know the world of the other. Yeah. And then the third thing we learn is how to encounter each other, how to have our souls meet. And when the space is clear and the bridge is crossed, it's the conditions for the souls to meet. So we teach that to couples, and we teach it in the States, in Canada, in Israel, in Austria. And what people find in the documentary is that a couple is a couple is a couple is a couple in all countries, in all cultures, and that our longing is really for that encounter, for the meeting of the souls. Yeah. And we're all capable of doing it. We just need to know how.
Yeah, yeah. It can be very interesting when relationships come together from different cultures. My husband's South African, and he brought with him a saying that I now apply to everything, which is first world problems. You know, things that used to irritate me or I would see as a problem, he would just say first world problems.
First world problems.
It is such a grounding thing. You know, he's come from Cape Town.
Gives immediate perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Where even having public toilets that aren't locked or are actually clean, here we just take it for granted in Australia. But in Cape Town, all those things are just, nothing's taken for granted. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So you do talk about world peace and world peace beginning at home with the family. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, you know, when I work with a couple, I realize that when they clear the space between them and it becomes sacred, and when they cross the bridge and come to know their partner really and honor and cherish their partner, and when they encounter each other soul to soul, they are one more couple in our beautiful planet, adding to the numbers where there is light. Because, you know, you cannot fight the darkness, but you can make more and more and more light. And I feel like every couple that knows how to bridge adds to our planet's bridging the divide. And it's just more and more important that we learn how to bridge the divide. I mean, in my country right now, there is enormous divide. And, you know, every couple who does the bridging and who learns the other culture and who honors the other is one more part of our planet bridging. And so for me, it just keeps giving me hope each time I work with a couple. I know we've put another couple on the planet who does this. And you know, we only need 90 million couples, 3% of the population, to have a pandemic of bridging, you know. So the idea is there's a tipping point at 3%. So 90 million couples, that's not really that much. I think we're getting there. Once we've got 90 million, we'll have a pandemic of good connections. That's the one I'm looking for.
Wow. We start with
that means world peace, because, you know, a tipping point of people really getting along deeply well and encountering each other that will create, just world peace.
Yeah. It's interesting, at the dinner table last night, we were talking about, this divisiveness that just seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. COVID, there's so much fear around it, and people are putting themselves either in one box or another. And I've actually seen it causing problems within a family. And it's such a big thing, isn't it? It's such a big piece of communication that right now is really being amplified.
Yes, and we need the bridge.
Yeah.
To cross the bridge to each other and learn how to do it. Yes, absolutely. I call that the 3 invisible connectors.
Yeah.
What disconnects us is when we are in our survival dance. And every couple has got a survival dance.
Yeah.
The survival dance that disconnects us. And right now, because of the fear around this pandemic, there is a planetary survival dance. And the survival dance always disconnects us. What connects us are those 3 invisible connectors, which is to really honor, like you and I are doing right now, honor the space that is between us and enrich it. You're enriching it with the way you're treating me. I'm enriching it with the way I'm treating you, the way we're smiling at each other. We are enriching the space. And you right now are really crossing the bridge to my world. You want to know me. And you're learning about me, and you've got questions you put on your pad to know me better. You've crossed the bridge to me. And slowly but surely, we're feeling like we've known each other forever and ever, because that soul connection has that quality. I've known you forever. You've been in my life forever. You see, that's that soul encounter. And our world deserves to look like this. Yeah. And, especially now when we're so afraid and we enter into the survival dance, we've got to remember that it's time always to clear the space between us and cross that bridge to each other and create the encounter like you and I are doing right now. Yeah. That's what keeps our planet safe and creates world peace.
Yeah. The bridge.
The bridge.
Yeah. I hope that your message and that message can just get out further and further and further. I just see there's such a need for it right now. Whenever I look on social media or anywhere like this divisive camps of vaccinations and all sorts of different things that just create such a division. Yeah.
And it's never the subject itself, it's that there's fear attached to it. And so we enter into this survival dance, and in the survival dance, there are 2 camps. So, when I work with a couple, I do something very interesting. After we've put the vision on the horizon, I say to them, for 13 minutes, I'm going to ask you to talk about the toughest thing of your life. I mean, the toughest, most embarrassing, most loaded, but 13 minutes. And the reason 13 is because in Hebrew, every letter has a meaning. So 13 is echad, which is oneness, and ahava, which is love. So if we're going to have a terrible conversation, let's do it in the name of unity and love. Anyway, the couple gets into it. And as you know, it's always the same kinds of subjects, but couples, their conflicts are really painful to watch. Anyway, after 30 minutes, I say, stop. And then I say to them, imagine that you were in a restaurant and you saw that couple, and for 13 minutes you watched them, and then they left the restaurant, but somebody whispered in your ear, they are from a different planet, Wygelia. So they speak Wygelian. It's a language you don't speak. So you haven't understood a word they said to each other. Now, what did you see? And so they'll say, well, the Wygelian woman started crying and she spoke and her body moved a lot and the man just withdrew and there was a big wall between them. People begin to describe the survival dance, because if you take out the content, all you see then is facial expressions, tone of voice, and the pollution in the space between. And so I write everything down and I say, one day you went to a restaurant and you saw a couple, and then I read them, everything they said describing their survival dance. Now, they've never seen the survival dance. They've only been inside of the divisive pattern, but they've never seen it. And for the first time, they get to see the Wigelian couple. And that's when I say to them, would you like to do this differently? And they get the skill to do this differently. And you know, one couple went home and they told their children, listen, we know you know this couple we become every once in a while that doesn't look like your mother and father. We just found out they're from another planet. They're called Wigelians. And we are asking you now to make a drawing of the Wigelians. And the kids made this unbelievable drawing of how they see their mother and father when they are in that divisive survival dance.
Yeah.
And the parents put it on the fridge and they told the children, you have our permission. Whenever you see us in that divisive survival dance called Wigelian, take us to the refrigerator and show us who we are in this moment. And we promise we're going to get back to who we truly are, because we now have some skills on how to handle these situations with a bridge that connects us rather than a dance that divides us.
Yeah.
And so that's such a lovely example of a couple who took seriously, they're going to become intentional, and they're not going to be reactive anymore. And they're going to let their kids show them, hey, you're in your dance.
Our children are very helpful with those with those conversations. One of my daughters did early childhood education, and the things that the little kids, you know, these little primary school children bring in, you know, that mummy and daddy at home, you know, I can just imagine the conversations around what's on the fridge. Gorgeous. So when you're doing the visioning work, I'm curious how you do that. Do you do that in picture form, or is it just a conversation? Do they write? Do they journal? How do you give people ideas around doing that?
Right. So the way I do that piece is it's a conversation with me, because I want to know them and I want to know their essence, because I know that after we've put all these amazing, inspiring dreams on the horizon, I'm going to tell them to have this awful conversation for 13 minutes, and that is not who they are.
Yeah.
And so I have that conversation, and by the time, and I ask questions so that we can really step deeply into that, the vision.
Yeah.
When we have the 6 of them, I read them, and then I tell a story. Once upon a time, there was a woman, but she was born a little baby in, were you born in, you're in New Zealand. Were you born in
Australia? In Australia, yeah.
In Australia.
Born here, yeah.
The little girl was born in Australia. And there was a little boy born in South Africa. And, you know, I say a little bit of what I know. And then they met and they fell in love. And I tell the story. And then they came to this woman who said to them, what is your wildest dream? And then I put the dream in. But once you have it in a story, it's archetypical. So many people have that exact story and those deep longings that are part of the collective. And usually people just start crying with their own story, because it's just so beautiful to hear it in that context, in the third person, as an archetypical story.
Yeah.
And so that's the first step. So it's got the story, and the picture of the children is there because children are watching us. And so they see, you know, what their parents are now learning about themselves and about what to do. And the reason I do it with me and I get the story, I just want to say they go home afterwards, they can do a vision board with images and, you know, cut out photographs and create a beautiful vision board with their vision, and then do some work with that, which they do at home. Yeah. The reason I do it with me is because I want to know them, because then I can say after those 13 minutes and we've described their horrible survival dance, I can say, I have good news for you. These Wigelians are not you. I met you in your dreams. I know who you are. This is not you. And that's why they could go home, this couple, and say to the kids, this is not who we are. You can call us back, you know.
I talk to a lot of people about vision building because I'm just fascinated by how people do it, and there's lots of different ways. I do the
Right.
vision
Right.
board, and I, people that do, closing eyes, and but the storytelling is beautiful. That's a new element that I haven't thought
Right.
of before.
Right. Once
The
upon
power
a
of
time,
story.
I get a lot of information through the dreams. So
Mm.
whatever I know, I weave, because through the dreams, I also get information about childhood, because sometimes what people want now is the opposite of what they had in their childhood. And so I can say, what was there, and I hear a little bit. So I can say, and that little boy, he lived in a family where nobody saw him. And
Mm.
he was just such a big spirit. And he was too big for that family. And he just felt like he never belonged. And, like these are archetypical stories. I mean, it is that man, but it is every boy who somehow arrived in a family where nobody saw because he was just too big
Yeah.
and too big a spirit, and nobody really could give him a mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. My children were lucky enough to go to a Waldorf school, a Rudolf Steiner school, when they were little. And that was where I started to learn the healing power of stories, and, not just healing, but also how they learn through story, and
Exactly.
lost art, I think, for a lot of people.
Yes, yes. Something else I do, which you will love, is that when couples already know how to cross the bridge, we'll do time travel. And time travel is where one partner will tell one element of their childhood, one little story, and the partner is going to go, once upon a time, there was a little girl or a little boy, and they'll tell the whole story till that element. Then they'll tell that element, and then they'll finish the story the way their heart wants to finish it. And then they take a time machine and they go back to that memory to talk to the mother and the father and the brother and the sister and the partner as a little child, and bring all the messages that needed to be there that nobody actually gave at that time because of a million reasons. But suddenly the partner of the future comes back and gives these healing messages.
Yeah. As you talk, it's like it's not even my story, but I still feel myself leaning in.
Yes, yes.
It's beautiful. So, saying a big yes to life. You touched on that at the beginning of this, but I just feel like it's such an important conversation right now. And you talked about a little bit of your life with your adventures through coming from a war situation and breast cancer and all these things. And for a lot of people right now, what's going on with COVID and the huge changes in the world, it feels like a massive transition is happening. And so I'm wondering if you can talk about how you see things at the moment and the ways that we can start to adopt ways of, the power of language is something you've talked about, and how we can, start to shift things a little bit.
Yes. Edwina, I make a distinction between the microcosm, the nest in which my husband and I are, and the macrocosm where there are so many losses, so many sad events are going on. And I feel like we can only really fully commit ourselves to our our world so that from there we radiate out. So what I've decided is, what is this new era giving me? And what I realized is it's giving me something I wouldn't have had, because were I to come and go and companions would come to be with my husband to make sure he's safe, I would not have come to know him. His libido would not have woken up from having his wife there all the time, attentive and loving and delighted with him. I make sure that everything we do together is a joy. The shower, a joy, a spa, massage, everything. And slowly, look what has happened as a result. I know I would not have had my man, the care partner connection that we now have, were it not that we are sheltered in since March 10, and I'm there all the time and he's there all the time, and our relationship was able to grow and evolve and become even more fun than I even dreamt about. And so from this place, I can then radiate out, and I've shifted my work from in-person to Zoom. I never thought I could work with couples on Zoom, but I'm doing it. And you know, I call God the kosher choreographer because I'm Jewish, so it has to be kosher. Choreographer because I trust the choreography. And so the kosher choreographer sent me a couple with whom it was absolutely a piece of cake to work on Zoom. So I did, and I said, well, Zoom is a piece of cake. No, it was the couple that was a piece of cake, but it was a piece of cake. And I said, great, I'll do it. And then the kosher choreographer sent me more and more challenging couples, but it's working.
Yeah.
And the latest challenge is that I received a gift, a mother-daughter. I do sometimes work with parents and adult children. The mother is in Brussels, the daughter is in Tel Aviv, and I'm in Washington, D.C. We're doing magnificent work. Had you told me, Edwina, Hedy, you're going to work on Zoom with a mother in one country, the daughter in another country, and you in a third country, and you'll be doing something amazing with them, I would have said, Edwina, this is an impossibility.
Wow.
But here it is. And so what I'm saying is that each of us must make sure our microcosm is filled with yeses. You know, yes to my relationship with my husband, yes to my work, yes to Edwina from Australia, with whom I can have a delightful talk on Zoom. We need to take the new circumstance and say big yeses within what we give the world. In my case, it's my relationship with my husband, my relationship with the people who want to be guided by what I have to offer. And of course, with our families, we just had a wedding in our family last week, a grandson, and we attended on Zoom. Wow, what a new thing to attend on Zoom.
Yeah.
And you know something else, I lost a wonderful, wonderful friend. I mean, one of those soul friends. She died in April. And we had her funeral on Zoom.
Wow.
And we had what's called a Shiva. Shiva is where you come for 7 days and you sit around with the grieving family. We did it on Zoom with 50 people sitting around telling stories about my wonderful friend Louise. Yes, you see, yes to this new way of doing life with all our soul.
It's all possible. It's all possible.
All possible.
Yes.
And it's our job to say yes, because, you know, we can say, like I could have said, you know, I cannot work with a couple on Zoom. I can. I cannot work with a mother and daughter in 2 separate countries. I can. Yes. Yes to the possibility. And then miracles occur.
Yes. Ah, yes. Absolutely. And it's, you know, the work that I do in bringing incredible women from all across the globe and just creating this little resource that people get to dive into. I mean, it's all possible. We have frustrations with technology, but gee whiz, look what it can do.
Exactly.
Opening channels of communication everywhere. For people that want to learn more from you, but not necessarily going to work one-on-one with you, where do they go to find things from you?
So the best place is my website, which is HedySchleifer.com, and there all the resources are available. You know, I've created a new one after Yumi retired. We had a joint website, and then I said, okay, my man retired, yes to the next era, 75 to 85. And so I created a new website, which is mine now, and people can find all the resources there. Also the TED Talk that you saw, that you mentioned my outfit. So if people want to see my outfit, it's there
Yeah.
in the website.
It is an amazing website, and your story is phenomenal, which is what drew me right in. The fact that you speak 7 languages, my brain cannot compute.
You know, it's so funny you say that, because I do.
Yeah.
And a language I do not speak is this technology language.
Yeah.
You know, it's really challenging for me, the computer, and I'm always amazed at the young people. And then the young people say to me, oh, yes, but I'm not a native. I'm 30. The natives are now 10 years old who were born in it, and they speak the language so fluently, and they do things that I can't even imagine at age 30. So, you know, it's a language.
Yes.
And it's a language I don't talk.
Yeah.
And I'll say on the phone to somebody who says, yes, you can just get into your computer. I say, you know, I am 70, it was 75, now I'm 76,
Yeah.
and I don't speak the language. Would you please assist me and very patiently work with me so that I can do this? Because it's not a language I speak.
Yeah.
I
Another adventure, another language to learn, Hedy.
You're so right. And you know, since this pandemic and being sheltered in, I had to learn more.
Yeah.
Before I could afford not to know, but you buy online and you order groceries online, and there's a lot I do now quite automatically.
Yeah.
I don't yet speak the language, but certainly dabble in it a little more.
I mean, we've talked about possibility, and this being at home and our situations having changed so radically for many of us, it opens up a whole world of possibilities to, I mean, there's nothing you can't learn now, whether it's a musical instrument or another language or whatever it is. You know, it's all just here now.
True. It's true what you say. And I think this big yes is a very basic thing right now. Yes to all the possibilities that are available.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said yes to me. I can say that much.
It's a joy to get to know you, Edwina.
Oh, it's been an absolute delight. I know that you have a little something cooking on your birthday that it's not quite ready, but there is going to be something coming that our audience can dive into from you.
Right, right. It's preparing itself, and when I have it ready, I will send it to you for your audience.
Yeah, beautiful.
A birthday gift.
Yes. Is there anything left on your heart that perhaps I haven't brought up that you would like to share with this audience? I do have one last question. I nearly forgot. This is the question that I ask each of my speakers. And I know you are going to have so many possibilities that you can dive into. But if I was to ask you, what is the most audacious thing you have done in your life? What's the first thing that you think of?
You know, the first thing that came to my mind is that I was invited, once I started to speak publicly, the audience grew, and I was invited to speak to 2,000 women. And I had never spoken to 2,000 women, but I decided I am going to go on stage. I'm going to introduce to them the little Hedy, you know, the little girl who said to me, don't do this because it's too scary. It's terrifying. And I said, okay, but I'm going to introduce you to the audience. And I said, listen, you guys, I wouldn't have done this if I had listened to the little girl that you can all see here, the little Dushka. I call her Dushka, the little Dushka, because she had diarrhea all night just thinking about facing all of you. I said, but you know, I have lots of things to say, so I'm going to take my little Dushka. And I went down the stairs and I said, I'm going to put her on somebody's lap so you can hold her while I go up on stage to talk and just give her a lollipop, whatever she needs. And I went down and I put that little Dushka on somebody's lap. And you could tell that 2,000 women going, I know little Dushka. I've got a little Dushka myself who often wants to say, don't do this big thing you're about to do. And so I could feel in the audience the compassion with the little Dushka situation. And then I came up on stage, I did my talk, and at the end of the talk, I went back to get my Dushka. And the woman who held her, I said, thank you so much. You don't know what you've done for me today. And, people just applauded because, we know that Dushka who won't allow us to be audacious.
Yeah.
So we need to let her know somebody will take care of you if I can't, but you cannot stop me from taking the big steps.
I thought you were going to say the woman sitting in the seat was like, I don't want to let her go.
She said she's adorable. You're right. She's adorable, that little Dushka.
Little Edwina's called Binny. It's interesting.
She's got a little Binny. Right.
Yeah, she's Binny.
Right. Binny. And Binny sometimes gets scared.
Yeah.
And you need to let her know, look, you're scared, but I, Edwina, I'm going to do this. I'm audacious.
Yes. I'm going to pull up my big girl pants. It's been an absolute delight, Hedy. And I cannot tell you what a gift it is for you to have done this on your birthday. It just feels extra special. So thank you so much for being with us.
It's my joy. Thank you, Edwina. All the best.
Do you know, as a vision building mentor, the very first step that I take women on is looking at who we want to be in the world. And to gather inspiration for that, I invite the women that I work with to look at women that really inspire them. What is it about their way of being that's so appealing, that has you leaning in to learn more, to experience more, to be around that person? Those women in my life that I unfailingly look at for inspiration are women like Brené Brown, Oprah Winfrey, the late Maya Angelou, Judi Dench. These are women that, to me, epitomize powerful, feminine, audacious women. The Marilyn Monroes and the Audrey Hepburns, stylish, powerful, audacious, loving, kind, generous, all those qualities. Meeting Hedy Schleifer has just added another woman to my list. I have to tell you that I was deeply touched by her interview and from diving into her work and exploring some of the wisdom that she shares so generously. So what do we get to take away from the conversation that Hedy just shared with us? For me, there were a couple of things. One, really, she has set the bar just that much higher in the way that she speaks about Yumi, her husband, and their relationship. To experience that level of love and joy and generosity in a relationship is so inspiring. I know that I'm truly blessed in my relationship with my husband, but there's always a next level. We're mere babies on the scale compared to the years that Hedy and Yumi have had to develop this relationship. And I feel inspired to just keep growing in that direction. The other thing that I think Hedy shared that was very powerful is in the world right now, concentrating on this little micro world that we can build, that we can have some control and say over who we are being, what we are being a source for inside our homes. Are we being a source for love, joy, connection, possibility, hope? Or are we inadvertently being a source of fear, anxiety, and I'm just losing the other words. But I think that you get the sense of what I'm trying to say. We can at any point choose to be a source for love, joy, and connection in this world. And it is my hope that all of us together are energetically connecting and lifting each other up into this beautiful place of possibility. All right, that's it from me today. So much love, and bye for now.